So I'm going to talk about neurological assessment. Many of you are neonatologists, pediatricians, and maybe you don't have time to do the complicated examination that Madhura has been showing you. So at least you should learn some simple tests, which when you see a baby, you should be able to perform yourself in the well baby or high risk clinic, wherever you're following your babies. So what I'll do is I'll teach you one of the simplest, easier methods. Uh, we have already talked about the importance of early intervention. Now, one of the best tests or the gold standard for assessing development and the most popular test is DASI, Developmental Assessment Scale for Indian Infants, which is based on Bailey 2 and was in fact standardized in our own department in KEM Hospital. I'm very proud of that. And it gives you a motor and a mental development, and that's really the gold standard. And we have been doing many workshops of DASI. We just did one about 15 days ago to train people on how to do a DASI test. But the problem with DASI is you need a trained psychologist, you need a soundproof room, you need a kit which costs about 18,000 rupees. So maybe there is an easier method which we clinicians can learn. And the most popular method used all over the world is the French method. This method was described way back in 1949 by Andre Thomas. Then the angles, the range of which exists, was described by Anis and Dargassis, but it became famous by the name of Emile Tissot because she put it in a nice structured form in squares and easy to follow. So what I will do is try and teach you this method now. Evaluation of muscle tone is the fundamental principle behind this test. Now, actually, basically we want to test tone because if we want to start early intervention, then we want to test tone. So let's see how this test happens. Next slide. Now you must understand how tone develops. Just see, tone develops in this pattern. It's chordocephalic in utero. What is passive tone? Passive tone is tone when you do some maneuver. Okay. So passive tone develops in this chordocephalic manner in utero, and later on it sort of decreases in a cephalochordate fashion. Next. Next slide. Active tone is the reverse. Makchi slide. It's the reverse. It sort of goes in a chordocephalic fashion here, and you can see it also relaxes in cephalochordate fashion. That means head support comes first, sitting comes next, standing comes next. Next. So actually what happened was, how did I learn this Emile Tissot method? 2 months, the year we started the 24-bed NICU, I told you, I took a 2-month sabbatical in Children's Hospital of Michigan, where I'd done a residency before. And here I was watching them, first babies, and I asked her, what tests do you follow? Now, many of you may have heard the name Sita Shankaran because she's done a lot of work on brain cooling in birth asphyxia. She's very well known for that. She was the neonatologist there. And she said to me, I'll give you this test. This is the one that I use. You Xerox it and you take it back to India and you practice it. So she gave me the test. I went to the library, to the Xerox machine. They had a Xerox machine in the library. I stood in front of the Xerox machine. I'd never Xeroxed anything in my life because in India, if you want to Xerox, you either tell your secretary or your peon and he goes upstairs and gets it done for you. So I hesitatingly stood there. Then one medical student who realized what my problem was, and I think he took pity on me. And then he said, I'll Xerox it for you and I'll give it to you. So I Xeroxed it. I came back to India and I had a student who was going to do MD. So I gave it to him as a dissertation topic. So he did the dissertation. And the other thing we did is that we gave the same baby to the psychologist. She was blinded. And we said, you do Dasi and you find out the motor and the mental quotient of this child. So I wanted to see if Emil Tisser's examination correlates with the Dasi, which is a much more accurate examination. Then the other question in my mind was, angles described for French Caucasian infants, are they the same as Indian infants or are they going to be different? So this is why I decided that I will measure the angles of 100 normal babies from the Well Baby Clinic and measure them with a goniometer, because it was a research study. I wanted accurate measurement of the angles. Now, whenever we describe anything statistically, basically what we do is we give a mean and standard deviation. Annie Sargassis had done was she gave a range. So I said, let me take out mean and standard deviation. And actually, this work was done by Dr. Bhushan Dev, who is from Praura Medical. If he's in the audience, Bhushan, you can just raise your hand. So here, this slide shows you the comparison between her ranges and my angles. And you will see that they are pretty much the same. There isn't that much difference in them. Okay, next slide. These are all published in Indian Pediatrics. You can see the angles here. She says 101 to 125. We get 100 to, her range is 100 to 140. Ours is 114 plus minus 6.2. So there isn't that much difference in the angles. Apparently, they are similar to French Caucasian infants. Next. Next slide. So basically, this examination consists of 4 things. Assessment of examination of the head. We are all familiar with the ocular signs like setting sun sign, nystagmus, squint, etc. Neurobehavior. Neurobehavior means, is the child cranky? Does he feed well? Does he sleep well? This you ask the mother, as well as you observe the child when the child is on the table. Then there is neurosensory, which is vision and hearing. And the most important part, the next one, that is neuromotor. Next. Next slide. So evaluation of tone is done with 3 points. Now, what I want to tell you is that when you're examining the baby, don't ask the mother to put the baby on the table. You pick up the baby. So inadvertently, you are doing axillary suspension. So if the baby scissors, you know that the baby is hypotonic. If the baby slips from your hand, you know the baby is hypotonic. So you are actually doing in axillary suspension. It's this is the main thing that. And look at the spontaneous posture of the child. Is the child lying in spontaneous ATNR? How is the child lying? So that is also very important. The next thing is assessment of passive tone. For passive tone, you have to give a maneuver to the child. Now, all of us who do the gestational score, the Ballard score, know scarf sign, adductor, popliteal angle. The dorsiflexion angle is probably something that you don't do. Dorsiflexion angle has to be done as a quick and a slow angle, and the difference should not be more than 10 degrees. This angle is very important because that way you're looking at the ankle. And if there is TA tightness at the ankle, you know that the child will not be able to walk. The child will be doing toe.
Ma'am, you are not audible. Concur.
Next slide.
We were not able to hear you in the last slide.
The spontaneous posture you didn't hear.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go back to the slide. Ghanshyam, go back to the slide.
Ma'am?
Okay, so can you hear me now?
Ma'am, we can hear you.
Okay, so the evaluation of tone is based on three things: spontaneous posture. How is the baby lying? Baby is lying with 18 NR. That's the most important thing to see. Then the next thing is passive tone, where you look at angle, scarf sign, adductor, popliteal, dorsiflexion angle. Neonatologists know these angles because we estimate them when we do the Ballard gestational score. And there is a dorsiflexion angle which is quick and slow, and there shouldn't be a difference of more than 10 degrees. This we can show you in the actual demonstration. So these are all the angles that we determine, and very important to do the dorsiflexion angle because at that time you can look at the tendoachilles. So if the tendoachilles is tight, you know that the child is going to toe walk, and the child is not going to be able to put the foot on the floor and walk unless this TA tightness is relieved. And the next thing is active tone. And active tone is, of course, head support, sitting, which you have seen in the previous talk. Next slide. Next. So basically, when we look at reflexes, there are two things that we are looking for. First of all, the neonate primitive reflexes should disappear. The Moro, ATNR, generally they disappear by corrected age of 3 months. So we have to check for disappearance of primitive reflexes. Then appearance of protective reflex. That means parachute, a proper parachute will come at, a proper lateral propping will come at 7 months. You show this, you examine this reflex. When the child is able to sit up, you give a push from one side. The child breaks the fall by putting out his other hand, and this reflex stays for life. And then the parachute reflex, where you pretend like you're throwing the baby. You have to tell the mother, I'm not actually going to throw the baby. And the baby puts out his hands and breaks the fall. And this one appears at 9 months and stays for life. And then the deep tendon reflexes, I already told you about ankle clonus. Next. So what do we call delayed development? What is our definition? If there is not even partial head control, at least a 30-second head control at 3 months, there is no momentary sitting, at least tripod sitting for 30 seconds at 6 months, creeping by 9 months, and cruising or walking sideways holding onto furniture by 12 months, and independent walking by 18 months. So you will think that this is delayed development. Next. So at the end of 12 months, when you have examined the child at 3, 6, 9, 12 months, 3 possibilities will be there. either there will be normal development at all examinations, or there will be tone abnormalities and developmental delay at all examinations at 3, 6, 9, 12, which means this is definitely a brain damaged child. And there is another third possibility, which is an interesting possibility, which not many people are aware of. And that is that the baby is abnormal at 3 and 6 months, but starts normalizing at 9 months and becomes completely normal at 12 months. And this is the group that is called transient tone abnormalities. Next slide. So actually what happened was Brillen way back described transient tone abnormalities, and she examined those children again at 5 months, and she said that they were quite normal at not at 5 months, sorry, at 5 years, and they were quite normal at 5 years. But Emile Tisson disagreed, and she told me this story. Actually, she came to Pune, she visited me, she stayed at my house, and she told me that this story, that she used to examine these children every month, these high-risk children. And at 12 months, when she found that they were absolutely normal, she said to them, there's no need to come so frequently. Now, these children went to school, and at 5 years, they started having school difficulties. So they came back to her and they said, you said our child was normal, but our child is having school difficulties. So then she went back to their records, and she saw that these were the children with transient tone abnormalities. So she did not think that they were normal. They looked normal, but they had scholastic problems at 5 years. Now, in my Pune low birth weight study, next slide, please. I was already following up these babies till 18 years. So I had this group at 5 years. So what I did was I recalled all the transient tone abnormality patients at 5 years. And I did their IQ. And the IQ of the normal, of the controls was 106.1. The IQ of the one high-risk babies who were completely normal, their IQ was 99.1. And the IQ of the transient tone abnormality group was 98.5. The only thing, when we did Bobat's preschool inventory, we found that they had poor language skills, but other than that, their intelligence was quite normal. So I did not agree with Emile Tisson's findings. Our transient tone abnormality patients did well. Next. Next slide. So what are the points to remember? Now, Emile Tisson examined them every month after discharge. I don't think there's a need to do neurological examinations so soon after discharge. I'll tell you why. Supposing you had a bad attack of infectious hepatitis, and before your attack, you were, say, jogging 4 kilometers. After you get well, it will take you a while to get back to those 4 kilometers, isn't it? You need a period of convalescence. So according to me, even the brain needs a period of convalescence after it has suffered so many traumas in the NICU. So I always say that you can see the baby in the first 3 months, but do a formal assessment at the age of 3 months, because you must give the brain also a period of convalescence. The next point, of course, which we have stressed all the time, is use corrected age in preterms. And do see the examinations. It's very important. Don't make a diagnosis of cerebral palsy on a single examination, because you'll fall flat on your face because of the transient tone abnormalities. You know, the mother will come back at 1 year and say that 1.5 years and say that you said my child has TP, but look at this child is absolutely normal. So I always say that do examinations couple of months apart, and only if you're convinced that these are not transient tone abnormalities, then you can label it as cerebral palsy. Next. Okay. I'm testing the visual acuity with a red ball, neurosensory testing, simple. Okay, next slide. Here I'm testing the hearing. We all have a puja bell at home, so with the puja bell. Next. Now this is what I mean by axillary suspension. See this child with spontaneous scissoring on axillary suspension gives you a clue right away. Next slide. And this is what I mean by spontaneous posture. Look at this child, he's got spontaneous ATNR and scissoring. So just by looking at the child, you know what the problem is. Next slide. This is a scarf sign where you take the arm and try to take it on the other side. Next slide. This is the adductor angle. Now, I feel that this is one of the easiest and best angles to assess. The thing that you have to do is, whenever I ask my residents to do the adductor angle, especially the male ones, they take the leg of the child, prise it apart with all their strength. Don't do that. What you do is you immobilize the knee and gradually abduct the legs till you feel the baby is getting uncomfortable and stop. And this is the adductor angle, one of the easiest angles to elicit. Next slide. This is Claudine Emil Tissot. I told you she visited me in India. She came to Pune. And what she's trying to show here is that when you're doing the popliteal angle, you must not lift the pelvis off the table. That's very important. If you lift the pelvis off the table, you'll get a wrong popliteal angle. Next. This is head support. Many times I find the junior residents, if you ask them to look for head support, they hold the child's hand and pull the child up. Now that is pull to sit. Madhura has shown you that. If you want to see head support, you must grasp the child by the shoulders and then gradually lift up the child. Next. This is pull to sit. Next. This is lateral propping. We have given a push from the other side, breaking the fall with the hand. Next. And this is parachute. Mothers find it scary. They feel we're going to throw the child. Child is putting out the hands and breaking the fall. Next. Then, as I told you, every child that we tested with Emil Tissot, we send them to the psychologist to do a development quotient with DASI. And what we found was, of course, only motor quotient, because you must remember, the Emil Tissot test has no mental items at all. You cannot use it for mental development. It's purely a motor test. So 80 was more sensitive than the Bailey scales or DASI at 3-6-9 months for motor development. But at 12 months, it lost its advantage. So earlier on, you can depend on the Emil Tissot, but 12 months better to do a DASI. Next. Next slide. Then what I did was, if we did a 3-month examination and correlated with the outcome at 12 months, how good was the 3-month examination to predict the outcome at 12 months? And you can see here that the ones who were normal, 66 of them who were normal at the 3-month examination, I'm talking of motor development only 2 of them became abnormal and 64 stayed normal. So if you look at it, it is a good prediction. A 3-month neurological examination for motor development gives a good prediction for the 12-month outcome. Next. So basically, these are some of the tests that are available in India. It's not in the purview of this workshop, but I'll just quickly go over them so you know what all is available in India. There is a ages and stages questionnaire, which is done in Hindi by Monica Juveja. And this is a questionnaire to the mother. And according to them, a mother with a 7th standard education can answer these questions. The other one is the Trivandrum Developmental Screening Test, which you all know it is there on the back of the IAP card. Then the Denver Developmental Screening Test, which is a very popular test used all over the world. Next slide. And then we have DASI, which I told you is a gold standard. And now they have come out with a Bailey 3, which goes on till for 5 years. It starts at 1 month and goes on till 5 years. The thing with Bailey 3 is that it's a very expensive test to buy and it takes a long time. And somehow the results are less than the ASI test. We found that there is a lot of under referral with these tests. I just showed you these tests so that you know what tests are available in India for assessing development. I have a short video of MMT which you can see. Next. So in a nutshell, early identification of developmental delay has a 3-pronged approach. A birth and developmental history, physical and neurological examination, and a developmental testing. According to American Academy of Pediatrics, very difficult for us to do, every child attending the Well Baby Clinic should have a developmental examination at 9, 18, and 30 months. The pediatrician should give serious attention, very important, to something that the mother complains about. Many times, I sit in the TDH center and I see a professor's child from, say, a far distance coming to the center with a cerebral palsy child. And then we ask them, why did you take so long to come to the center? You should have come earlier. They say, no, our doctor said, oh, the baby's premature. It will take time. It will be all right. So that's not true at all. And the pediatrician should give a lot of attention to parental concerns. And the pediatrician should familiarize himself with some simple test at least so that he can check the baby. And then he should be aware of a center where the baby can be referred. So the high-risk infant should be monitored very closely. Otherwise, all this expensive high-tech neonatal care is not going to be of any use. Okay, now we go on to the video. Video level. It will take a minute, just hold on. म्युझिक बरोबर येत नाही, आवाज वाढवता येईल का?
आवाज येत नाही का तुम्हाला मॅम? We can hear the music. Can you hear?
Yeah, I can hear, but it's a bit soft.
Okay.
See, there is fisting and cortical thumb. See the cortical thumb. हाँ ठीक आहे बंद कर आता. Okay, are there any questions?
Ma'am, we have baby for demonstration.
Okay. So we have a baby for demonstration. So some of these maneuvers, especially, testing of axial tone is very
Madam,
important.
आवाज येत-
And that most pediatricians don't know. So I'll ask Bharti to show axial tone. She can show dorsiflexion angles, slow and quick. I think the angles we all know. So maybe if she can demonstrate. Otherwise, there's no